You guys tired of seeing this parking lot yet? Back here at Lucky Chances, it's Sunday the 11th, one day after the last vlogging session. As an additional reference point, tonight is when the Lakers won the championship, and I only got 5 hours of sleep after last night. So I'm not sure how long I'm gonna play. I am decently caffeinated at the moment, but how long I play tonight will depend on two main factors. One, how good the game is, and two, how good I can make decisions on not much sleep. So those are the two determining factors, and we'll try to keep the good momentum going and see if I can run it up. Closing things out from Lucky Chances here. It's 1:17 in the morning. Started the session at around 8:45. So however many hours that is, can't do the math right now. So it was a very wacky session, to say the least. So let's run through the hands. In this first hand, I raised it to $20 from the hijack with pocket aces. The cutoff makes the call. The button puts in a small 3-bet to $50, and he has around $300 back. When it gets back to me, I decide to 4-bet it to $175. Cutoff gets out of the way, and button makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of 10-9 deuce rainbow. Good flop for pocket aces. I decide to bet out $150. He ultimately tank jams for $156. I make the additional $6 call and just table my hand. The board runs out a 3 and a deuce, so all in all very clean. And that's confirmed when he mucks it, and I take this hand down. In this next hand, I raise it to $20 from the hijack with ace-6 of spades, and I get 3 callers, the button, small blind, and big blind. 4 ways to a flop of king-king-5 rainbow. When it checks to me, I can range bet here, I think, pretty often, and I block some combos of king-x suited. So I settle on $30, and everyone folds. This next hand is 6-handed. I'm first to act, and I raise it to $20 with pocket aces again. And I get 4 callers as only the button folds. We go 5 ways to a flop of king-9-9. When it checks to me, I decide to check as well, as I think this will give me more info, particularly in a heavily multi-way pot, and action ends up checking through. Turn brings a queen of spades, so it completes jack-10 and puts a flush draw on the board. When it checks to me, I can go for some value here, so I bet $30, and only the big blind makes the call. He is the tightest player in this lineup, so I'm going to be treading pretty carefully the rest of this hand. The river comes a 10 of spades, so not a great card because it completes the backdoor spades, and it puts a one-liner to a straight. When he checks it, I think it's very hard to get value from worse, so I check it back, and he tables king jack of hearts for the top pair turned into a straight on the river, and takes it down. This next hand is a straddle pot. Under the gun limps. I raise it to $45 from the low jack with Beauty and the Beast suited in clubs, and only the straddler makes the call. Heads up to a pretty dry flop of king-6 deuce rainbow, and when he decides to check it, I put out a down C bet of $35, and he makes the call. The turn comes a 5 of hearts, and he decides to check it. I size it up a bit this time to $90, and after thinking it through for a little bit, he raises me to $235. Although there are draws available, I've not played with this player before, and usually when it's a new player or someone I've not had any history with, I tend to just give them credit for having a strong hand. It's just really hard to find players at this stake level going for bluffs in these spots. I just think it's an under bluff spot. So until he can show me otherwise in future hand histories that he's capable of bluffing, I decide to just give him credit this time, and I make the conservative fold. In this next hand, there's a low jack raise to $20. The button calls. I'm in the big blind with king jack of spades, and I put in the squeeze to $105, and only the low jack makes the call. Heads up to a flop of 9-9-4 rainbow, so I flop overs with some backdoors. I decide to c-bet it for $70. He decides to raise me to $170. And despite having those backdoors, it's just going to be hard to realize my equity out of position. And this player I also have a decent amount of history with, and he tends to be a bit more of a value heavy profile. So with all those details in mind, I decided to let it go and just getting pummeled these last several hands here. In this next hand, there's a hijack race of $35, and I'm in the big blind with pocket aces for the third time of the night. I decide to 3-bet it to $110. He makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of King 7-6 Rainbow, a very good board for pocket aces here. So I c-bet it for $75. He decides to raise me to $200, and we're playing about $800 effective here. So I decide to just make the call. Turn brings a 5 of spades, so not the best card because it makes the board that much more connected. I decide to check. He bets $235. Can't go anywhere just yet, so I make the call. The river comes a 6 of hearts, so it pairs the board. Pretty good card overall. I check with the intention to call it off if he decides to bet, but he decides to check it back with ace king offsuit. So a really smart check back by him. I think it is hard for me to raise turn there as I could have been up against set, so I don't think I could have played the hand too differently on the flop or turn. A river lead jam from me would have been interesting because he would have had to call, but hindsight is of course 2020. In this next hand, there are a couple limps. Button raises to $25. I'm in the big blind with ace jack of diamonds, and I decide to 3-bet it to $100. Folds back over to the button. He thinks about it for a little bit and decides to let it go. Not a super interesting hand, but I just wanted to mention it because the player on the button is a nice young up-and-coming poker player named JR. He attended our meetup game earlier in the year at Lucky Chances, and we had a great time. So it was nice to see a familiar face at the table. That said, JR does seem to be pretty young to be stealing my big blind. Might have to get his ID checked on the next go around. This next hand is a straddle pot. The cutoff limps. I open light from the button to $45 with King 9 offsuit, and only the cutoff calls. Heads up to a flop of Jack Jack Deuce. He decides to check. I bet $25 and he makes the call. Turn comes a Queen of Hearts. He decides to check. I bet $50 and he decides to min raise me to $100 with another 125-ish back. It looks like I just picked a bad spot to try and make a play here. So I make the fold, and he does confirm that it was a bad spot when he shows me ace jack offsuit. This next hand is a straddle pot. I raise it to $35 from under the gun with 2 red 7s. Cutoff makes the call, and the button puts in a 3-bet to $120. Pocket 7s in this spot is sometimes a fold and sometimes a call. I decide to make the call, and cutoff folds. Heads up to a flop of Queen 7-6 Rainbow, so I flop middle set. I check. He down bets for $60, and I decide to play it fast and raise it to $200. I can balance this spot with hands such as 8-9 or 4-5, and even a hand as strong as ace-queen for value. So I don't think it's always going to scream a set when I raise here, especially when he down bets. And after I make that raise to $200, he does make the call, and we're playing about 900 effective from this point. Turn comes a 4 of clubs, putting a backdoor club draw on the board. I continue with the aggression for $325. He's in the tank for a little bit before deciding to jam for roughly 900. I of course make the call. The river comes a Queen of Diamonds. I table my hand, and it's good as he shows pocket kings, and I find myself in a very fortunate spot to win the biggest pot of the evening. Last interesting hand to note from this crazy up and down session. I raise it from under the gun to $20 with pocket 9s, and the big blind defends. Heads up to a flop of 10-7-5 with 2 clubs. He checks, and I c-bet it for $25, and he makes the call. Turn comes a 3 of hearts. He checks, and I think I can still go for some value since I blocked some suited 10s. So I decide to bet $50. Well, he doesn't want to just call. He decides to jam all in for about $300. I make the pretty quick fold, and he was kind enough to show me his hand, which happened to be 10-5 of hearts for the flop 2 pair. So he takes this hand down. All right, so that wraps it up for the notable hands played. After that pocket 7s hand, I was up around $1,400. I was actually planning to leave before that hand developed, but after I won that hand, I didn't want to be one of those guys that kind of just hits and runs. So I stuck around for a little bit, which was not a good decision in hindsight. Obviously lost a little bit with the pocket 9s, but a couple of hands that happened after were that I lost with ace king against jacks in a pre-flop all in for a $600 pot. So I wasn't able to improve with the ace king. And then shortly after that, the player that I beat with the pocket sevens, we got it all in pre-flop for also like a 300 each pot. So like 630, I think, was in there. I had queens and he had aces, and his aces held. So just like that, in a matter of 10 minutes after the pocket sevens hand, I gave back 600 or 700. So ultimately was in the game for $1,300, and I cash out $2,063. So still book a decently nice win of $763. Anytime you don't leave at your peak though, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, particularly in the manner that it happened, just so quick in 15 minutes. But that's how poker goes. I obviously got my fair share of luck with pocket aces multiple times tonight, and obviously winning that big hand with pocket sevens. So I can't complain. Nice to book another winning session in this pretty turbulent weekend of poker. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this one. We'll continue to bring you content mainly from Lucky Chances. I've seen some comments about, you know, people wanting me to go to Sacramento and check out Thunder Valley and whatnot, but kind of really like the outdoor setup here at Lucky Chances, and I'm just going to stick with this for now. But if anything changes, you'll obviously see that on this channel. So as always, thanks for your support. I really appreciate everyone liking, commenting, and subscribing to the videos and the channel. And with that, I'll see you all on the next one.